I'm Roz Stendahl, and I wanted to give a quick review of this essentially no-name book because it's just called a sketchbook. It's a commercially bound sketchbook that I found on Amazon after one of my students alerted me to its existence and said that she enjoyed drawing in it with graphite and that maybe I would enjoy it. So I went out and got one. It's got a craft cover, and then this eventually, I wanted to show you this. I'm going to show you some scans from the book in the rest of my review, but I wanted to show you this because it comes with the cover barely attached right here at the hinge edge so that it's open on the spine, and if it does stay attached, it could still open flat, and that could bend away. But this fell off very quickly when I opened it, I think like the second time I opened the book. And that was to my advantage because this was just going to be a desktop journal to do things quickly at the computer, to make some class notes when I was still teaching Patreon, and do things like that. So not something to be carried around. I think that they're a little bit fragile to carry around because they don't have any hard covers. This is just essentially a cardstock that's a little bit stiff, but not very very hard. For people who are wondering what this D24 means, that's this is the fourth journal in 2024 that's been completely filled. I start renumbering at page 0 on January 1st every year, and then that's the year, and then this is the volume, and then I can index them very easily with page numbers and so on and find what I want very quickly. So again, this I say no name because it's not a name that I recognized. The company was making these, and when I looked on Amazon, it seemed that several companies were selling a very similar book. I will publish the link that I got this from, and you can go to that link. There are many companies making this, and I can't vouch for all of them. They're making a sewn signature. I don't know if it's too glary there. So this is a standard sewing approach, and they're doing that. And they're just not casing it in a hard cover, and they're not providing any other stabilization back here. So I think if I were going to take it out and about, I'd probably put some lightweight Japanese paper that's very high strength, long fibers, high strength, along here cut to size. And then I would probably put covers on it, but not glue the cover to here. In fact, I would just do fabric there and have it loosely there so that it could sort of, fall when it's crinked like this, but not impinge it in any way. And then I would probably stick a card cover in a little bit from the spine this way. And then I could cover those if I wanted, but I could also, I could cut them to size, head and tail, and forage if I wanted, or have them hang over a little bit to protect the pages. So I think Kunst and Papier does a binding of the kind that I'm talking about. You could look them up and see their commercial books. But then that will maintain this completely flat. This is almost the center of the book, and you can see it is completely flat here, flat for scanning. There are a couple places in between the signatures, which usually happens. The glue join comes up, and so those papers at the end and beginning of signature don't go totally flat unless you kind of push them down and crease them, and so they'll be a little short over here and so on. And you've scanned books, you know how this goes. It's a minor thing, but one of the nice things is that those glue joints hold the paper is sticking with the glue that they're using, and it's not falling apart like some of the softer drawing and painting papers. So there's that. I'm not going to flip through this, but I did do a little bit of painting. The painting gets, I think, a little wimpy on here, and so that's kind of frustrating. It's also very crinkly when it gets wet. So that was just the back of that one. So you can see the crinkling of the paper here from that watercolor. Now, you can certainly still work on this page. I chose not to because for a brief moment I thought I might take this page spread out and put it in a frame because I kind of like the two of them together, the chicken and this. This is watercolor used opaquely. And by that I mean what I always mean when I talk about this on my blog. It's watercolor that has less water added to it. I'm using it more initial strength from the tube or from the pan. I'm getting a lot of it up and making a thick slurry of it and using it that way. Anyway, I think I did use a blue gouache from Holbein for that bow. So there's that. But the point is that it does crinkle the paper, but you can work on it. And I wanted again to show you this so that you can sort of see what happens. That's, not a design fault, it's just the way they put it together, so it'd have a little cover. I would recommend if you're going to carry it around that maybe you make this kind of slips off even when it was attached. I would suggest that when it does fall off, that you just make one of those slipcase covers, or not slipcase covers, but those slip covers that you've seen me make, and there's instructions on the blog, so that it's like American students, at least in my age group, we used to get textbooks given to us at the beginning of the year, and then they would be returned at the end of the year. We had to keep them in as nice quality as possible, so we would make little slip covers for them that would cover the book and the spine and stuff. I would make one of those, and then I'd carry it around. It's a little floppy for me because it doesn't have hardboard covers, but that's just me, because I used to always stand when I was sketching out, and frankly, I don't know. I may be, when I'm able to go out and sketch out again, when I get my mobility back, maybe I'll be sitting down all the time, and then it wouldn't be an issue. So if you're a person who sits down when you sketch, on a lap or a piece of plastic core board, you might find it's just fine. But for me, if I was standing, this would be a little bit too floppy, and also it's kind of heavy. But I like the fact that it was so thick. I think it's 304 pages, something like that. I don't know if that's an exact count, but when I stamped my page numbers, I got that number if I did my subtraction right, because I'm in the middle of a sequence. But I also didn't use some of the front and back pages for journaling. I used them for other housekeeping activities. So that's the scoop. On this, I will put some other things in. Oh, I was going to show you this back page. I did do tests on pens before I started using it, and there's a lot of inks that will seep through. So, like this one here. This is the Stendahl Pigment Liner 1.0, and it'll seep through, and what else will seep through? Pretty much all of them. The Pentel Pocket brush pen, if you hold it in place, will start to seep through. And so, there's that. But I sketch pretty quickly, and I don't hold things in place very long, and I don't mind a little bit of that. So the pens that I usually use are the Tombow Fuda pen, which seem to work fine. The Stendahl Pigment Liners, if I kept it moving, were fine. The Pentel Pocket brush pen, I didn't use in this. I used their squeezy-bodied pens, and they worked fine for me in this. the Kuretake ultrafine brush pen will soak if you hold it in one place, but it was great on here. And then I used a pencil on here and color pencil. It doesn't have a lot of tooth to really hold the color pencil, but it has enough that it's very pleasant to work with. You just have to be careful not to go down too hard with your initial lines because it flattens pretty quickly and then you can't easily layer other colors down. So anyway, I think that, it's very inexpensive. I think it was like $6. And you got 2 of them. And they come in different sizes. I like this one so much. I ordered another one, but it seemed to come from a different company. And yet it has the same thing here, so I don't know, and I took a risk. And here you can hear that. It's starting, this is what it would look like when you open it up. It's starting to crack apart here. So it's just glued there, and that's it. And anyway, it's the same paper, but this one came, and here's something that's very interesting. This one came and had a little bit of a smell to the paper. And I've had it now airing out for a couple of months. I just ignored it. I didn't intend to leave it that long. And the smell or the odor is gone. This little one came without any odor, and I jumped right into it and was so excited about it. That's one of the reasons that I went then and ordered the bigger size, because the bigger size would be even better for a desk journal, which is what I intend to use it for eventually. So I don't know. I think it's a good deal for money. And my favorite thing was to use either the Sakura Pigma Professional Brush Pen FB, which is fine point, or the Tombow on this paper. It made great crisp lines, and yet it also had some fun ability to make dry brush textures. The pen dried out, so down in the pants and things like that. Again, that's pressure control, and beyond the being a little dried out, but it was fun in this paper. And that's also that same Professional Brush Pen FB. I also found that the Pentel Fine Squeezy Brush was really nice on this paper. I just think this has really nice crisp lines. I really liked that. And then bold, crazy lines, same brush pen. So, and they didn't seep through. This is that same brush pen, but you see it didn't seep through here from the other page. So I liked it. So for me, it became pretty much a black and white book. Sometimes I'd throw a little bit of shading on and stuff, but for me, it became just the pen and ink and thinking about class stuff that I wanted to teach and writing notes and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I liked it. I'm glad that my students saw it and thought of me. And I wanted to, once I had tested it, I wanted to pass it on to you. This is an example I did really early on of the watercolor. And I think you can see it's a little wimpy. The paint seeps not through the paper. It doesn't seep through the paper, but it seeps into the paper in a way that dulls it, that you don't get on real watercolor paper, which floats the pigment on the top of the paper. So this is a little dull for me, and it also took a lot of work to achieve this kind of saturation of color. And for most people, I don't think they're going to have the patience or interest in doing that. And because I know I certainly didn't. And, whatever. But it can be done. And you can use the other side, and it's all fine. If you're scanning this book, I do recommend that you put black cardstock behind the 2 pages of the page spread that you're scanning so that you don't see through, because that would be annoying. That is something you will see a little bit see-through through this, but not as much as in some other books that everybody uses quite readily. So I'll pop in now some stills of pieces that I did in this book so you can get an idea, and I will give you the link in the text. And I hope this is helpful for you as an alternative. And again, the large size one didn't come from the vendor that I bought this from, but it looked the same, and I thought it would be the same based on the description. I ordered it, and it has been the same, except that it came with an odor. And you know I don't like papers that have an odor. I haven't put anything wet on that paper yet, so we'll see. But whether it is the same as this, but this paper, when wet, did not have an odor, so it was all good. This is a perfect purse or pack size, and it has a really nice heft to it. It's fun to hold. There's a lot of nice things. It makes a nice kind of crinkly noise when you hold it. I'd like to recommend it. Before I show you scans of some of the pages in this book so that you can see what works really well or doesn't work as well on this paper, I wanted to tell you what I did about the book cover. You'll remember from just moments ago that it was totally detached. Well, what I've done is, for going on the shelf now, I want it to be attached a little, and I glued it into the front. So it is glued in the front. That means this doesn't open all the way, but we still open to other things, and that's fine. Okay? And that means it's really glued on, and so it won't come apart. Why didn't I glue it also to the back? I could have put a little bead of glue right here, and I could have glued it right to this. Well, if I do that, and I then open the book, see how the whole book moves? This would mean that this is still attached to here, and the spine would get creased in multiple ways. And I didn't want that to happen. So for my purposes, having it solidly attached, back or front, doesn't really matter, your preference, but having it solidly attached to one side will allow it to stay intact and give its protectiveness to the rest of the book as much as it can. I just was able to, because it was unattached, I was able to fold it like this and set it in my lap, and I could index this and flip the pages over easily, keeping it completely flat while I was typing my index entries in. So that is more useful to me than having it all totally attached. But I wanted to show you, so how do you glue this? I haven't glued my index in, that's why there's blank pages. I just typed it. But so how do you do this gluing? And I wanted to recommend, you've probably, if you're my bookbinding students, you've seen me do this type of thing a lot. But artist masking tape is your friend. Always test first on the paper to make sure removal is going to be okay. I would put a line, you want to go off the edge at the head and the tail, but I would put a line of tape straight along here, and that I make that about 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I'd make sure that it's pushed down and on just the side that you're using it on, so glue doesn't go under there. Then I would take a piece of tape, and you want to keep the glue off of the binding of the spine so that it doesn't get on the cover and defeat that easy opening that we have. And you don't want to crack that spine paper and get it stuck there. So just put the piece of tape there, and I'll show you that in a minute. You could turn it up here like this if you wanted, and just take it right to the edge. You don't want it over the edge where you're not going to be able to get glue there. Then you want to take just your really quality PVA. I'm not related to Line Co at all, but I like their PVA. It doesn't have any weird odors. There's other good brands. Elmer's glue is not going to cut it for bookbinding, and some of the inexpensive craft white glues that you get at places like Michael's and Joann's are not good for bookbinding. But I think that Joann's actually, or Michael's, carry these higher quality brands now, so look for them. You can get them at Wet Paint if you're local to me, and you can also get, if you're in the Twin Cities, you can get quality PVA, that's polyvinyl acetate, I think. You can get that PVA glue at MCBA in their shop. and that will also be good. And just a little word to you, if you're thinking of ordering some because you're going to be doing a lot of bookbinding or because your stock is running low, order in the summer or the late spring and early fall. So from early spring to early fall, from late spring to early fall, order if it's going to be sent to you. The issue is that you don't want this to be frozen in transit. And if it's being shot through the air in an airplane with cargo, or it's on an uninsulated truck or something, it's going to freeze and thaw, and that's going to ruin it. So buy your glue in the warmer months of the year, and you'll be good. I always look at what I have in the middle of the summer and then go and buy or order as much as I can. Okie doke? Or as much as I need. Could buy a lot. Anyway, so we've got it all taped up here like this, so the glue isn't going to go anywhere else. And then we decant some of this on a little plastic plate. I was using so little of it that I actually put it on one of my waste newsprint sheets and just put a little glob of it there. And then I took this inexpensive kids brush that's flat and could go nicely there, and I just dipped it in the glue. Oh, I rinsed this and got the bristles moist because then it will wash out better. You can use a standard sort of ox hair or boar bristle or whatever they're made out of, stiff glue binding brush, and you can go through there. But I like the smaller brushes for these tiny little areas, and then I don't use my good watercolor brushes for that. But when it's wet, it's going to pick up the glue, and when I say wet, you wet it and then you squeeze it dry so there's very little moisture in it. You just want the bristles to have been moistened so that the glue will come out more easily at the end. And then you just dip it in the glue and you just slide along here, and because you've got everything taped up, you push away from this so it doesn't seep under there, and this is already taped down so it's not going to seep down there. Like that, blah, blah, blah. And when you lift this up, and I'm not going to do this one because I don't want it to be glued, there will be glue only for that last little 3/8 of an inch or so. And then what you do is you bring the spine up and make sure that it's really tight into there, okay? And then you flop it down and you press all along here. And you don't use so much glue that it's going to seep out the edges and get on your pages. That's the other thing, you use very little glue. And you push it down, and then you stack book on top of it, and you wait it for a day. And the next morning, when you open it up, it'll be stuck on like this. And fine. I could push it open further. It's not glued very far. It's only glued that little bit. But this is stiff cardboard, and I don't want to put a crease on the front. So if it just comes to this page, it's fine with me. Okay? But I just wanted to show you that. Now I'll show you some pages, close-up of the book, and we'll be done with this. So that's the scoop on that. You have a great day and you get some sketching done.